James Monroe was the ambassador to France during the Reign of Terror, after the French Revolution. While they were there in France, Elizabeth Monroe played a very important role. You see, they were good friends with the Marquis de Lafayette. He was an important French general who had helped the United States greatly during the Revolutionary War. But he needed some help after the French Revolution. Many of his relatives had been guillotined, and his wife, Madame Lafayette, was imprisoned and was soon to face the same fate. Now, hearing about this, Elizabeth Monroe took it upon herself to go in her carriage with only a few servants and visit Madame Lafayette. Not only did she cheer her, but by doing this bold move, which could have been viewed as dangerous and controversial, she showed that the United States was supporting the Lafayettes. Because of this, Madame Lafayette's life was spared. While they were in France, the Monroes' oldest daughter, Eliza, became good friends with the stepdaughter of none other than Napoleon Bonaparte. As a result, the Monroes were invited to Bonaparte's coronation a few years later. As First Lady, Elizabeth Monroe had a few necessary duties. The first duty was to oversee the redecoration of the White House because during the previous presidency, the War of 1812 had led the British to march right through Washington, D.C. and burn out the inside of the White House. So she oversaw redecorating it, and it was during Monroe's presidency that the building was painted white for the first time. It was not called the White House at the time, it was simply called the President's House. Now, under Dolly Madison, the White House, or the President's House, was very open. Dolly was always welcoming people in, making it very informal, and she also made a lot of visits to other ladies who would call on her. This practice was started by Martha Washington, although it was considered against protocol when Martha did it. Other people in government said that it would only lead to hurt feelings or supposed preference for the First Lady to go visiting and calling on people, but Martha Washington just couldn't see it as being the proper thing to do to not return with a personal call. So she and Abigail Adams, who was the Vice President's wife, would make calls together. This didn't suit Elizabeth Monroe, partly because of her ill health, and the roads were so badly paved in Washington at the time, residents were spread out all over the city, so instead, she sought to have more organized formal events rather than making these individual calls. This was not a popular decision. In fact, because of this, a lot of people started boycotting White House events and didn't even want to go and see the president and his wife because they saw this as being rather rude. They also saw her as being a bit too formal and reserved. This was because of her time in Europe, where she had observed the aristocracy and royals. She wanted things to be done in a more formal and dignified manner.